Minigizget. Gezoude Sat and Dejnikos, Bode Wadami, Ojibwe, Adawa, and Dao Citizen Band, Mang and Dodum. Hello, my friends and relatives. I am Jody, one who helps children. I am Potawatomi, Ojibwe, Adawa, Enrolled Citizen Band Potawatomi, and Loon Clan. And welcome back to Indigenous Food Friday. Today, I'm continuing with our series of Mnomen and how to use leftover Mnomen so there's no waste. I do cook a bunch of Mnomen, the good berry, wild rice, beforehand because I like to overcook it. I cook it for about an hour at least. I really like it nice and tender depending on the recipe. And so that's a long time to cook. And sometimes when you have hungry kids running around or a hungry husband or you're hungry, you don't want an hour to wait. So I'll cook a bunch beforehand and then it's ready. So all I have to do is heat it up depending on what it is. So today we are going to make Mnomen and Kanmin or cornmeal cakes. This is another one of my favorite comfort foods. It's also great to make for when my boys go hunting or hiking or we go for a fishing trip because it travels really, really well. And then I can rest assured that myself and my family are getting all of the protein, all of the healthy carbs that we need and healthy fats so that we can continue going throughout the day and not have a huge calorie deficit. And protein, the older we get, the more protein we need. So here I've got it depends on how much you're cooking. Those of you who know me, I'm horrible at measuring. Measure with your heart. So here I have leftover Mnomen that's been cooked, but we're reheating it. I've got it in a little saucepan. This is probably a cup of Mnomen, cooked Mnomen. And then I've put enough bone broth in there to cover it. Not enough to like go an inch above, but enough to just cover it, to get it nice and heated. And plus we want that broth because that's gonna go into our Mnomen batter. So get that nice and hot because we want that all to incorporate. And then I've got some masa. It's just finely ground corn flour. That's all it is. It's cornmeal that's finely ground into a flour. 2 eggs, or if you're using ducks, just probably 1 egg, but 2 chicken eggs. I've got some culinary sage, salt, regular salt, pepper, and then I have juniper smoked salt, sea salt. If you don't have any of this or you don't know how to make it, that's fine. I do sell it on my website if you would like to get some of that. And that's at BossLadyAnish.com. I've got some Bakwet maple syrup, and then also some Zabaxiwabo, which is maple vinegar. I did produce a lot of this year, so I'm offering it also online at BossLadyAnish.com, and you can buy that. So I've got my Mnomen reheating with the bone broth. If you don't have bone broth, you can use whatever you have. I sometimes I'll save bean stock after I've made some beans or whatever. You can use broth or you can just use water. Whatever you have, you're gonna use it. So let's get started. Okay, so just in a mixing bowl, I'm gonna add my hot Mnomen that's been reheated with bone broth. And then I'm gonna add just a little bit of Kanmin at a time. You never know, well, I guess if you measured, but I don't know exactly how much I'm gonna need, so I just add a little bit at a time. Until I get it just right. Okay, we'll add a little bit more. So that's probably about a cup right now. So a cup of Mnomen, cup of Kanmin cornmeal flour. That looks like it might be right. It's starting to form a nice batter, but as it cools and soaks all up, we might need to add some more. So now I'm gonna add some seasonings. I've got some culinary sage. I'm gonna add probably That's probably like a half a teaspoon. Just depends on what you like. If you don't like sage or you have an allergy, I can't imagine. But if you do, just omit it. You can replace it with whatever you like. If you like rosemary, you could do that instead. Just whatever works for you. I like, especially with Mnomen, I really like the earthy flavors. So juniper, rosemary if you've got it, if you're okay with that. And definitely that culinary sage. Okay, now I'm going to add some of my smoked salt. That's probably a teaspoon, wouldn't you say? Yeah, we'll add that. And some black pepper. And then this is probably, I'd say, a 1/4 cup of maple vinegar. Just mix that in nicely. Okay, I'm gonna add another scoopful of Kanmin, because we will be adding some eggs after this cools a little bit. And then we might need to add some more Kanmin. Okay, that's all incorporated. So now I'm just gonna set it aside while we just mix up our eggs. And I know with the price of eggs lately, especially with the bird flu going around and everything, they can be hard to get. If you're able to, I suggest getting your own little backyard chicken flock. I've had chickens for, it would be 12 or 13 years now, and I don't regret it one bit. We do have the land though, so we don't have to worry about it. But before we even moved out to the country, we lived in the city, and as long as we didn't have a rooster, we could have chickens. Of course, you have to check with your city ordinance and all of that crazy stuff, but it's really the best. And if it just makes food sovereignty even that much more important, knowing that you can get food on your own, you don't have to rely on corporate meat farms. And then you also know, I know that all of my chickens have had a very happy life. I know exactly what they've, well, for the most part, eaten. They've been outside in the sunshine every day, and they're protected at night in their coop. So it just makes it that much better, sustainable, and that's what food sovereignty is, right? Okay, so now we're just gonna add our eggs, just our whipped eggs, into the batter and mix that in. And then add, so we're about at a 1.5 cups of Kanmin. We want to be able to form this into like patty cakes. So make a giant mess. I guess that's part of the game, right? Okay, a little bit more Kanmin. So I guess you kind of, if you've made my pumpkin biscuits, that the recipe is in my cookbook, you want it about the same consistency as those so that you can handle them and form them into patties. So it's almost like Play-Doh. That's perfect, just like that. And then we'll set this off to the side. Okay, so I've got my cast iron skillet warming up. I use bacon fat or lard. Use whatever kind of oil you want. You can use Crisco You can use, just make sure it's got a high smoke content because we're gonna get this smoking hot. And I think you can use grapeseed oil, coconut oil, canola oil, anything you've got. I use bacon grease a lot. I save that from all of my cooking. So our batter has just cooled down a little bit. It's really had time to incorporate all of those flavors. The vinegar, the bone broth has all gone into the Kanmin and the Mnomen. I really like to use an ice cream scoop because it gets all of the uniform shapes and it does kind of the work for me. I'll pack it in, put it on my hand, and then we're just gonna pat it down to make a nice little, cake, a patty cake. So it's just like that, about that thick. Now you know your oil is hot. Number one, it's smoking a little bit, so I know it's hot. But when you put in a wooden spoon, it will start to sizzle. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully it shows up, but it's sizzling around that wooden spoon. So we know it is ready to go. So I'm gonna get a couple of cakes ready so I can drop them in at the same time. One thing that I just thought about is my husband and son love spice and heat in all of their food. So many times, especially if I know that they'll be the only ones eating this, is I'll add chili flakes or cayenne and just add a little bit more heat. You could even add like sriracha if you really wanted to. And then just put in more Kanmin, more cornmeal if you need to, if it gets too moist. Make those nice little patty cakes. And pretty much this is all cooked except for the egg. You're just cooking these until they're nice and golden, like maybe 3 to 5 minutes on each side. So scoot this over so you can see a little bit better. One of these days I'll have like a professional studio kitchen. Wouldn't that be wonderful? So then always drop away from you, not really drop, you're gonna set it, but place it away from you so that you don't have any of that splashback. Just like that. Okay, it's been about 4 minutes and they are ready to turn. So we're just gonna go ahead and gently turn them. You see they're a gorgeous golden brown, just perfect. Okay, so we'll go another 3 to 4 minutes, just check often. Okay, these guys are done. So I use one of these little strainers to help them drain off all of the fat. But you can, some people use paper towels or just sit them on a clean kitchen towel. Whatever works for you. I like to try to live as eco-friendly as possible, so I just let it drip off in this. Maybe set it over a bowl while it drips. Whatever works for you. Okay, so here we have it. They're nice and crispy on the outside, and they're gonna be just like beautiful moist cakes on the inside. And then I take some this Bakwet maple syrup, and we're just gonna drizzle that on top, because everything is better with maple syrup, right? With this Bakwet. And then in one of my earlier videos, I just made simple lemon strawberries with our maple vinegar, and this pairs beautifully with this dish. I mean, look at that. It's just beautiful. Okay, let's try it. Mm. Mm. That will definitely keep you going. Mm. Beautiful. I hope you try it. Let me know what you think. And until next time. Vamapi.